All right, welcome back, everyone. I have a special guest on today. I met him at the ORAT One Rental at a Time 50K subscriber event in Vegas, and we kind of hit it off. And I can't get rid of him now, but I got Chris Wissing here. So welcome, Chris.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and I want to just clarify that he is looks about 5 feet tall, so I am much taller than him. So but yeah, Chris, so let's kind of dig into maybe what you're working on, what your portfolio looks like, and maybe what struggles you're having right now.
Ask away. What do you want to know?
Well, so let's kind of talk, maybe just touch on what does your portfolio look like right now?
So I'm in an area of California called the North Coast, Humboldt County. So I'm about 80 miles south of the Oregon border, right in the middle of redwood country. Um, for people that have watched Jurassic Park or Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, the Andor Forest, that's literally my backyard. Home of the giant redwoods. It's it's a beautiful area. Like I said, it's right on the coast,
What
so
else is it
you
known
can't.
for, though?
Hey, look,
Come on, I know you're
anybody,
gonna.
hey, anybody that's listening, anybody that's been around knows what Humboldt County is for. It doesn't need to be said. But yes, that is one of the things that we are known for around here. If the people that are into herbal relaxation methods.
All
the
right, all
the
right,
talking trees.
all right.
So yeah, no, I've been here in this area probably about 30 years. Um, Basically, I bought my first house. You know, it was just kind of one of those deals. I was in my early 20s, and what do? You buy a house, you get your goals, and of course, I was raised, oh, you buy a house, you pay it off, you live a good life, yada yada yada. Well, that's what the old generation used to preach because that's what worked for them. That's not really what works anymore. It was my primary for about 17 years. Remodeled it, did my thing. Life has its directions. Um, Got married, moved on. I turned it into a rental. Actually, I've had the same tenants in that place for 11 years now. They're actually raising their grandkids in there now, so which is kind of cool. It's kind of neat to see. Um, so I had that one kind of just generating. Ended up getting a divorce. It ended up actually being my saving moment because it was generating. But what I had done early on is I had doubled down. I was working three jobs when I was younger, and I just threw everything that I had. I didn't like debt. I was always raised debt is bad. You you can't be successful if you have debt. So I paid that house off and just nose to the grindstone. Missed out on, all my buddies are out playing, doing their thing. So, anyways, um, what 5 years ago, I jumped back in. I'm like, you know what? I needed another one. I need to do something. If this is what I'm going to do, and I'd been around guys years before that tried to get me into it. I just wasn't ready. Just mentally, I couldn't get my head around it. It made sense, but the dynamics weren't right for me at the time. But I did finally get a second one. It was a rehab. Uh, I, of course, everybody at the ORAT meet kind of heard some of my stories about buying heroin dens and squatter houses and things like that. So, yeah, I bought that one. Uh, it was just completely trashed. Got it done. Actually, just flying blind, and I made it work. Um, got it done just before COVID. Got it listed. They shut the world down. So I ended up sitting for about 3 months, 4 months vacant. Uh, Going, oh, crap, what did I do? And got it rented. Got some great tenants in there. One of them just got married. They're talking about raising their family in there, starting out doing their thing. So I got the long term game figured out with some of these people. 2 years ago, I bought another project, and of course, everything was flying off the markets. But this one was just it was kind of an off sale, off market deal because it was just destroyed, and it was a duplex. So I dove in both feet first, took my retirement that I had saved up, and basically lit it on fire. Threw everything I had at it, got challenged pretty hard with it, um, but I survived. And so I've got 4 rentals here. Now I'm looking other areas, been looking around here. The prices just nothing's making sense right now. So
Let's kind of bring everything to you. So you have four rentals. You
yep,
have how? So one is paid off, or
yes, one is paid off. Then and that one I've had that one, I think, 27 years now. So that one's actually one where I'm trying to decide what's my next move with it.
and then
Uh,
you live in one of these, or you're house hacking somewhere. Or
nope, I have my own primary.
oh, okay.
So I have
So
four. I have 4 properties, and then 4 rentals because one's a duplex.
okay, okay.
So yeah, yeah. So 3 income properties, and then one primary.
And the primary has a mortgage, or that's the one that's the paid off one. Or
No,
no?
no.
Okay,
So my old primary is free and clear.
okay.
So it's a rental. And then my primary that I'm in now, and what I call my first rental, even though it was my second, those I've got just insanely low mortgage rates on. So they're just going to sit and do their thing. Um, my duplex, I was getting in on um, I was in when rates were still low, but I was in the middle of the remodel, and then rates took off, and I could not keep up. I couldn't catch up. So I ended up getting hit with some pretty heavy rates. Um, and of course, being non-owner occupied, you get the little bonus of even more than primary. So, but even with that, I was still able to make it work, and it still cash flows.
Yeah, I think the great thing about your story so far is that, like you're saying, you have the long game figured out, right? If you know you pretty much you are set if everything kind of just like you're saying, you're looking at it from a long term perspective. So I think it sounds like what you're looking at right now is just trying to figure out what to do because you have some equity built up, and if you
Mm-hmm.
want to go a little bit quicker. But it's like you're saying, if you just sat there and just kind of waited 20 years, I mean, you'd be fine. You'd have this great position, some paid off properties, right? But you're just
Right.
trying to accelerate things. Okay. So where are
It's
you right now? Like where's your thought process right now?
so well, my thought process is I'm in my early 50s. I'm looking at, the sun setting on my
Oh,
career.
60s.
Seriously? Come on.
What? All right. 50. I'll give you that.
So the sun's setting on the career. Like I'm starting to see, we're kind of past the high noon point. So, my goal would be to be done before the actual, retirement date. Whether I can make that happen or not, I don't know yet, but that's my goal is just let's push ahead, let's go, uh, and see where we can take this. Um, so that's my focus is how do I get this, on target, um, in a way. Yeah, I got a late start, to compared to some people, but yeah, you know, I'm still in a pretty good position with things. So, we all run our own race. But yeah, definitely been a learning curve, between managing, learning that, not all debt is bad. Um, really focusing on, um, personal finance, how to run a business, how to get, reserves and things handled. Last year I got hit with not only a roof on one place, I got hit with a plumbing leak on another, and I got hit with a water heater, uh, and everything came at me within a couple of months. And I was like, well, good thing I learned how to keep a reserve, because it took care of it.
What about employment? Or do you have a W-2 or how else do you generate
So
income?
yeah, so I've got a W-2. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic for municipality, um, or I should say for a government agency now. Um, so that pays my regular bills, everything else. I keep uh, my rentals, everything separate. They pay all their bills. They take care of all their stuff. Still building whatever uh, capital I can. So, and I'm just now finally getting to that point where everything's starting to build. But I've also set up my own personal finance where I'm living not a lavish life, um, keep everything pretty minimal, um, and just try to bank as much money as I can and just basically have double duty, so to speak.
I think that's the one common theme for a lot of the ORAC community. A lot of people still have W-2s or other streams of income from through work. So I think that's the one common thing is like no one is really trying to get rich overnight and they're leveraging their W-2. And like you're saying, it's also important because in the beginning, like Dion and Lumberjack always say, the first 5 years, they suck and you're going to have expenses. So it's good to have a W-2 where you can kind of rely on some steady stream of income. And I think that's what you're doing. And like you're saying, you've encountered some problems, and I have, and most of us have, especially in the first 5 years. And but having the reserves and having that W-2, so like even for me, having the opportunity to work overtime if I need to, and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's super helpful. So
Yeah.
but the one thing I think I notice is I think you're doing way better than you give yourself credit for. I mean, I think that's what I'm picking up on. I think you're maybe hard on yourself, or you feel like you've got a late start. But I look at it kind of like, you live in a very high cost of living. You live in California. If you were going to move some, when you're retired and you relocated someplace else, I think you'd be fine. Like I think if you were just someplace
Right.
else, that's the way I'm looking at it, though.
And that's true. And you are right. I'm my own worst critic. Um, and I do appreciate that because sometimes I need to hear it and get that uh, outside perspective.
Oh
Um,
man, did I say something nice about you then?
See it, and it's on video, so it's out for the world.
Ah,
Now the
never
gang's
good.
all gonna hear it.
I'm
They're
never
gonna be like,
gonna get
"Oh, he
rid of
does
you,
like
man.
him. He likes." Oh, I know. See, you do like me. So
Man.
my 4 foot tall shadow.
All right. Let's get
Hey,
serious here. No, but no, seriously, I think you are doing way better than you give yourself credit for.
well, thank you.
And I think so, I think maybe going to the event in Vegas, was that helpful for you? Seeing
Oh
where you
man,
are?
that was the thing, and one, the energy, and that weekend there was some stuff behind the scenes in my own personal life that kind of hammered me. Um, so I needed that energy and that positivity. But more than anything, being around such like-minded people and such motivating conversations, and everybody just like, hey, if you do this, and or try this, or here's what I would do. I mean, I sat with Jason Pritchard for an hour, and he gave me his input, directions, but then which just it blew my mind. And he's just an absolute amazing human being. Um, and then you know, talking with Ty and Adrian, and just some personal connections, and just some of the things, the way they bounce some ideas off. And I was okay. this makes sense. You know, talking to Lumberjack, he's like, you've got a place that's this, but it's this. Have you thought about what it actually means? Think about your buying power, and really spun me, and just things I didn't even think about. And that's where being around these people that have been in the game for, solid for a while and know the ins and the outs. It was insane. I came back so recharged. And now I've got so many different ideas. I mean, just where I'm at, my primary right now, I've got ideas bouncing around, and it's just figuring out which one makes the best it makes the most sense. You can do it all, but what one is going to benefit you all the way? Um, so that's where I'm at now, is figuring out some of my options. What can I do? Where, do I take my original house? I've had it for 27 years. There's no mortgage on it, but has it run its life cycle, as far as depreciation now? Have I kind of used up do how do I use it as a tool? Do I, 1031 it and get into something bigger, start going into, more of like a fourplex, do that. My primary, it's just a basic 3 bedroom, 2 bath house. But I think 6, 7 years ago, I built a 780 square foot shop next to it, attached to the house. But I set it up to turn it into an apartment if I want. And so I've got all that I can do. So I can literally duplex my house. So I've got so many different ideas and options. I've just got to put something into play. Um, so that's where, talking with everybody and getting ideas and hearing different stories. That was what it was all about.
Yeah, I think everyone had a great takeaway from the event. Like you said, there's a lot of like-minded individuals, and it was just the energy too. Just the energy
Mhm.
being around all these people. And I interviewed Kim Bishop, and we were joking that I thought she was drunk the whole weekend, but she didn't have a sip of alcohol, and she was just like high on the energy from the whole event. And
Mhm.
I think that's how a lot of people were. They were just enjoying it, meeting different people, and just seeing different perspectives. Like you're saying, each person was giving you kind of different ideas on what you can do,
Mhm.
what you may want to look. And I think that's the other great thing about real estate is you have so many options, right? You have so many different ways you can maneuver your pieces on the board, right? So now that's all you
Right.
got to do is kind of figure out what you're going to do. So what do you think you're looking at right now? Where are you at right now?
As far as
Where are you leaning towards of all this advice that people might have been helping you with or giving you, like kind of what do you think you're looking at right now? What's your next move?
right now, right now, just the way things are, I'm looking at the path of least resistance. What makes the most sense for me? And that's, like you said, the great thing about all of this, there there really is no right way. It's whatever works for you. Some people can definitely, shift a different way, make a bunch more, whatever. But yeah, I'm looking out of the area, looking Midwest, seeing what's out there, because the opportunities, there's just so much more opportunity. Um, where I'm at now, we've got a major university here, just actually turned into a Cal Poly, and the area is going to keep growing, and prices are just going up and up and up and up, and it's this was the always labeled as the last affordable coastal community in California, and it truly is. I can go inland and pay less money in bigger areas, but I'm still stuck with a lot of the California nonsense. So you go into the Midwest, and there's just better opportunities. Uh, the laws are a little different, the prices are a lot better, and you can still make the money. So that's kind of where I'm looking, is just basically branching out, spreading my wings, so to speak. Um, if I can get into an area that is is producing what I need it to produce and doing and giving me what I need out of it, then I'll circle back and I'll start looking at maybe 1031, uh, my original property. Um, because it is paid off, that's going to give me the most equity. And going into the Midwest, it's just going to give me huge buying power. Um, so, the nice thing is, and I actually sat and did the numbers roughly, and having tenants in that house for 11 years, they not only have paid my mortgage back, but now they're paying back what I had paid in interest. So, all that has come back to me. That house literally is becoming eh, almost free. Where, yeah, it was money out of my pocket in the beginning, but it's all gotten, the return on it, which is pretty huge when it comes time to move on. So, um,
So
yeah,
what?
so
So
that's
what kind
that's
of
my thought.
what kind of changed your mind on the whole real estate thing, as far as looking at debt and what your real estate was for you?
I mean, I had an idea, and even early on, I was like, okay, I get tax write-offs or I get this, and you know, understanding that you have, yes, you have a bill, but then what you're getting back, and finally getting that switch turned on to where somebody else is actually paying that bill. You're not paying it. And that's a hard one to get through where you're looking at it going, I owe $300,000 and my payment is, $2,500. No, it's somebody else's payment, and once I started getting that realization, and then learning that you write your interest off, you can write your repairs off, you start putting those things into play. And that was where sitting down with my CPA, and he kind of explained it. He's got rentals, and actually he just took over the business. The former CPA, he had 13 rentals, and his words to me uh, many years ago when I first started looking at this, he goes, "You want to get to four." And I know we've heard Zuber talk about the magic four. His whole thing about four was when you get to that point, what you're paying, you should be making some profit. By the time you get to that fourth one, your profit from those four should equal what your house payment is, so you can live for free. That was his advice to me. Get to that four, you can live for free. If you don't do anything else, just get to that number so that somebody else is fully paying off your house. So that was kind of some of the advice that I got, and kind of moved me a little bit. And then just, talking with you, and the rest of the ORAT team and the three amigos, and listening to some of the stuff they say, you just find the words that work. Uh, and at some point it will all start making sense.
Yeah.
I
So
just
I
wish
mean,
I'd
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I just wish I had found Zuber and stuff years ago, and gotten it before I'd gotten into some of these projects and kind of learned some of those tricks and how to build your buy box and do all that. But at the same time, I may never have jumped in. Sometimes you got to just jump in hard, and sometimes you hit bottom, and hopefully it's not too painful. Um,
Yeah,
it's
trust
what
me.
I
I
did.
think a lot
So,
of people feel the same way. Like they wish that they came across Zuber or Dion or Lumberjack or
mhm.
all these individuals a lot sooner. But the biggest thing is that they don't regret starting, right? I mean, I think that's the number
Right.
one thing is everyone's glad that they have jumped in. And yeah, of course, we made mistakes, but the hardest part, and we've seen it too, even from people at the event who are still trying to find that first deal or get started. That hardest part is probably getting that first rental, just
Hmm.
taking that leap and taking that plunge. So, even though we've made
And it's
mistakes, yeah.
it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's, and what everybody else's success is not going to be yours. You may do better and you may take your lumps. When I bought this duplex, I had the numbers figured out. I knew, and I had figured out everything down the line. I mean, I just sit with a tablet and I'd be like, okay, it's this. I'm putting this into it. Interest rates are this. I'd get on the computer and I'd look and see what interest rates were doing because I knew I was. And in the end, the rehab cost doubled. Every time I turned around, it was something else. And when you're sitting there going, you show up to the property and you're like, hey, we've got foundation issues. Like, well, now we're starting at ground zero. And oh, you need a roof. Oh, you need this. Next thing you know, I was down to the dirt. There was no walls, no nothing. Siding was gone, insulation was gone, drywall was gone, everything. You could see through that house. Like, well, at least I know what I've got when it's done.
Yeah.
And I can confidently say, this is why the rents are top dollar.
Yeah, it's kind of like
So,
what Zuber talks about too, right? Living in a spreadsheet, right? Sometimes it looks great on a spreadsheet or the numbers, and it's easy to analyze, but there's so much other factors that are involved. And we kind of touched on it off camera too, even like just hiring a handyman or doing small repairs on your own. It's a lot of times it's not, if you knew exactly like this is what the problem is, I have the tools for this and the parts needed, then fine, I can do it. But then a lot of times it turns into something else, right? You go check it out, and it's like you don't have the right tool, or you don't have the right replacement part. And then you go to the hardware store and they don't have it, or you got to drive another 20 minutes to get to the next hardware store. So a lot of times it's all these other things that get factored into it.
yeah. And you have somebody you hire somebody to do it because they've done it before. So, for me, if I haven't done it, I'm going to overthink it and I'm going to do it the best that it could be by the book. It's going to take me forever when somebody else is going to come along and they're going to say, if you do this, it's a 10-minute fix. For me, it's 2 hours. But being a mechanic, it's the same thing. People try to do stuff on their own. It's like, here's what you do because I know where the severity is. It
Yeah.
this is critical, this isn't. So that's where I started learning those lessons and just kind of relating it. You know, it's not my world. Yeah, I can do it. I can do sheetrock. I can do plumbing. I sweat copper. And I've done it all. I've done my own. I'll do my own flooring, and that was a nice thing. The contractor that I was using, you do the stuff that you're comfortable doing. Leave the rest to us. And I was able to go in and do the work. But I spent Thanksgiving a couple of years ago. I was doing flooring in the unit, and I was happier than hell. Had the music going. It's like literally snowing outside, and I'm just going to town, having a great time. The best part about that was that I had the other section of the unit, I had it advertised, and the tenant that I had, who was an absolute amazing tenant, just happened to show up to check the place out. Saw the ad, showed up, and I had my tenant. Had I not been there doing the flooring, I wouldn't have met this person and had a great experience with the tenant. So, it's kind of those little wins that you got to remember and be thankful for. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's it's definitely a different world. It's
Oh, yeah.
but it's an amazing world.
Exactly. I think it's just, I wish more people would jump on board, but a lot of times people just don't quite understand why you're doing it. I think that's the common thing is they just don't see, like you said, most people were told to just buy a home, you're going to live in it for 30, 40 years, and now you have all this equity built up, and that's how you build wealth. And like you kind of touched on, that doesn't necessarily, I mean, it still works. It's just maybe not the best path to retirement or financial freedom.
The problem is you have this equity. What are you going to do with it? Because if you're going to live in the house, sure, the house is worth X amount. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to refinance it and have a payment again? Would it does you equity does you no good if you're just living in it. It for the most part it gives you bragging rights. Yeah, that's That's fine. You live in a house that's worth $800,000. You paid $400,000 for it. Great. What are you going to do with that extra 400,000? Because it's not doing you anything. So I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. Um, I've talked to so many friends, like, man, there's no way I could do that. How can you even afford to do that? Well, you jump in, you start talking to the right people. You start with one. Same thing going to the gym. You walk through the doors. After that, you start talking to people. You hire a trainer if you don't know. You ask questions. It all is the same, you know.
Let's stay right here a little bit. Let's touch on that. So, are you I know you do, but do you still compete or bodybuilding or?
So I haven't competed. It's been about a year and a half now. Basically, what happened after my divorce, I went into come to find out I had some health issues that I had to take care of. But I knew that I wanted to get back into the gym. I wanted to basically we go through that stage of reinventing ourselves and making ourselves the best version that we can. I watched so many people just go to trash, drinking, substances, whatnot, and that's just not me. I went a different route. Got back into the gym, started working out. I hired a trainer just to get myself back into shape. I was in my mid 40s, early 40s, and I needed to do something. So I started building a network of people just through time, getting to know people, and I was consistent and I was there every day. And then I started going in twice a day. And then I started taking classes. And there were times where I would go in the morning at 5 o'clock when they opened up. I'd go in after work, do a second workout, and right after that, or I'd do two classes in the evening, and I'd be doing morning workouts and just brutalizing myself in some ways. But I loved it. It just and it brought out a whole new level that I didn't know I had. And so you force yourself to enjoy the suck because it did, and it sucked, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. So fast forward, I'm sitting there in my mid late 40s, and I'm like, God, I wonder what would happen if I turned 50 and I was in good enough shape to get on stage. And I didn't tell anybody. I just started. It had sat in the back of my mind for years. I'd mentioned it to my coach, and he's like, "That's a good goal, long-term goal to have, but don't make it your focus. Get better. Just keep improving and use that as your motivation." All right. So I ended up hiring a trainer. I'd been solo for a while without a trainer. I finally hired a trainer to get me kind of going, push me into the next level. And so I trained for under him for about 6 months to get ready for my first show. Competed, and I was in the Masters 45 and up, and I ended up winning. So uh, going into your first bodybuilding competition, getting a win, all I went in for was the experience. I knew that I was going up against people that had been doing it for years. I knew. And when I walked in and I saw some of the guys, I was like, oh my God, here we go. This is what did I sign up for? And I'm like, you know what? I signed up for fun. And one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to get out on stage and there's going to be hundreds of people going, who the hell is this knucklehead? And I'm either going to go out there and just be super bashful or I'm going to go out full Monty. And I had a blast. I had such a great time doing it. All that work, all those years, and it got me that. So that just kind of kept me, that there was a moment where I just sat there and went, at this point, I can be happy with this. I've hit the level. I achieved the goal. Now I just go for my own well-being. I still follow a strict diet. I still lift heavy. I still do my thing. I have a trainer that I work with from time to time when I'm ready to jump back in. then I'll go full force again. But there's just so many other things in life right now that I need to take care of. Competing is kind of secondary, but it's always there. So,
Do you see any parallels between like, real estate and bodybuilding, like the mindset and things like that?
mhm. And I think that's where getting into the real estate thing, as hard as I have, tying it in, going, yeah, this sucks. I mean, there were nights where I came home and I was just beat. I was like, this is gonna just end me. Just when you're sitting there looking at bills, and you're looking at just massive amounts of money going away. It's hard. It hurts, and every time for months when you're picking up the phone, well, we found another problem. We've got this issue, you know. But same thing, you walk into the gym, it's like, can I lift that? Can I pull that? Can I do this? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's jump in. So it's finding that parallel. It's finding that relation. You know, anything worth doing is not easy, and we're not always going to succeed. Um, so yeah, it sucked, but in the end, it gets you where you want to be. So, and I think that's where over the last, especially after that ORAT meeting, where I really got recharged. It really brought something out and gave me some good inspiration. So it just pulled me out of a little bit of that stagnant stage. Um, so yeah, so that's
Yeah, I think I like to relate it to is kind of like there's never like that perfect time to jump in or do something. I'm sure too, like, working out as much as you do or competing, there's always like aches and pains. There's always, you're tired. There's always something going on. And it's kind of, you just got to push through it. And yeah, you don't want to hurt yourself, but you're going to figure out a way to maybe accomplish this exercise, whether it's maybe go lighter for that day or more reps, but you're just going to
mhm.
try to push through it. And that's, I think, the one thing about real estate too, it's never easy, but you're just trying to figure out
No,
how to get to the next day or the next deal, and you're just trying to keep pushing forward. And that's the way I like to relate to it. Like they said, there's always some kind of pain going on, whether it's my shoulder or my knee, but yet you're just trying to figure out a way to get that exercise done in a comfortable fashion.
right. And when there is an ache and a pain, like you said, you got to push through. You modify. You know how to get around it. And if you don't, you find somebody who can help you get around it. It's like, hey, I'm stuck, or I've plateaued, or is my form correct? You know, Sometimes people will be giving you the good information. Sometimes you got to pay for that. Getting that mentor, same thing as a trainer. Um, and that's where getting into Zuber's course and Dion and you know soon to be Millennial Mike too. They've all got great information. They've all been in the game a little bit and further ahead. So yeah, they're my trainers at this point.
Yeah, I love it, man. Like I keep going back to, I think you are doing way better than you give yourself credit for. And since
Appreciate
we're
that.
recording here, I want you to be on record. So, what is your next move? What are you gonna do next? By the next time we see you in Vegas for the ORAD event, what is going to be going on with you?
Man, you know what? I'm hoping next time in Vegas, I've got at least a cardboard box that I'm renting out. um, no, yeah, I'm I'm starting, and actually, and I think you even saw it when I was sitting there in Vegas. I was sitting in that back room, sitting down on the ground with a tablet, my phone, and I was almost out of battery. I was plugged into the wall, and I was crunching numbers because I was posting uh, just the photos and the event and kind of what's going on. One of the local realtors jumped onto my Facebook page, and I actually bought the primary that I'm in now, and she and I have been friends for 20 something years. She's like, "Hey, I've got a cute little house for sale up here that make a great rental. Here's the details." All right. Oh, and there's another one down the street that's actually this. So here's the MLS on that. And then another local realtor that through Facebook, I just got some messaging from her about other deals and stuff. So I'm taking a look at everything right now. I'm looking in my area, but I'm starting to look at out of the area. Uh, I kind of like Indiana, but like Frank is doing Missouri. Another friend of mine has a relative that's a realtor in Alabama. So I may start looking, in some of those areas and see what's going on. I don't know what there is in Alabama, but apparently people are doing well out there. So, um, whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Can't be
Let's,
worse than Gary, right?
man, I don't know. I think I need to go in there and give Mike a run for his money on Gary because the stuff that he's worked on ain't nothing compared to what I've done. I mean, you know, his stuff would be a breeze compared to my projects. So, no, yeah, Gary seems like a good spot for him, and I would look there too. There's some other areas in Indiana that I'm starting to look at. I just haven't landed on anything yet. So that's my next step on the short term is finding the area, whether it's still here in California or am I going to head out west. And one of those things too is where's an area that I potentially might want to live. When retirement comes, kids are gone to college. Do I want to stay here? Do I want to head somewhere else and just be
Well, let me know where
different
that
there?
is, so I'm not anywhere close to that area.
You won't be allowed.
I won't be
Yeah,
allowed. I can't get
you won't
ready.
be
I
allowed.
can't shake you, man.
Uh-huh. Says the guy with the channel who's doing the invites. You invited me.
I did, but I was trying to be nice. You messaged me today, like, "Hey, you
That
free?"
you try to be nice. You try all you
Uh,
want. But no,
but
yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at is I got to now. I've kind of got everything spread out. Now I've got to start condensing it and seeing what the next step is. So and everybody knows we give each other a hard time and whatnot, but you know, getting the advice from somebody who you've already been through some of the hard stuff, and but you learn from somebody who'd been through some hard stuff, and you know, I'm trying to figure that out. I haven't invested out of the area. You get the mileage award. What are you, 5,000 miles?
about there, yeah. I
Yeah.
haven't been there yet, too. So
See, living the good life.
yeah. Well, I think, it also, you got to know your personality too, right? I think not everyone is able to be maybe this far away, or so it's really understanding yourself too. Like Zuber talks about it too, right? I mean, he hates to fly. So for him, it was finding some place that the numbers did work. Maybe he was getting a less return than if he was to go further or out of state. But for him, it was he's not going to travel. He doesn't want to fly. So for him, it made more sense to maybe take slightly less return, but it was someplace to where he could drive or accessible that way. So I think that's the big
Sure.
thing too, is you got to really understand yourself.
Well, and that's the thing too, where if I'm in the Midwest investing there, I'm not going to be out there. I'm not, I'm not going to go out there. I'm not going to, you know, maybe take a trip out there just to, meet with the teams, whatever property managers, whatnot, go take a look at places, see the region. But other than that, it'll be a hands off kind of deal. Um, so yeah, you're having all those people in play, they all require a paycheck. Um, so yeah, you take less money, but at the same time, you did the work in the beginning, you set everything into play, and after that, you just kind of keep the fire lit. So um, yeah, it's definitely making sure that all those numbers match up. Just may have to invest more, more properties to get your return up. If you're only getting a couple hundred here or there, yeah, it may take a few more properties at that level to get you the income. But try and buy a couple of those properties here, and it's not easy to do. So
Yeah, man, I think you're doing way better than you think or give yourself credit for. And I'm excited to see what you're going to be working on, in Vegas when we meet up again at the next event and kind of see
I
what
don't
you're
know. I
doing,
may
man.
come out. I may bring my kids and come out to your rock and just
And I didn't know you're not, you can't come out here, man.
yeah, I can. I can.
And I thought we were done
Can.
after this. I thought there was a recording and I didn't have to
Mm-mm.
talk to you after this. And I'll see you in Vegas.
Uh-huh.
No, anytime,
Nah,
man. Yeah, let
I'm
me
gonna.
know. You're gonna be out here. Let me know, and we'll hang out. And I think
I
even
didn't say I
like,
was gonna hang out with you.
well, I mean, I'm just trying to
See,
be
now you're being
polite.
presumptuous.
Well, I mean, I couldn't get rid of you in Vegas. Everywhere I turned, you were behind me.
I was a block away from you. It's just a shadow.
Oh man.
So no, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what's cool about this is that it's meeting all those people and talking with them and getting into some of these groups. Some of our Zoom calls. There's a little bit of that. What are you doing? Where are you at? Did you find anything? And it kind of keeps you going because now you're like, yeah, I want to get something else. I want to do this. Not do it wrong. I don't want to go in there and go, man, you know, I bought this horrible deal. I'd
Yeah.
like to buy one that I don't have to fix up, or at least not to the level that I've had to do. Um, that'd be kind of nice. I'd like to have one that, maybe a month of cleanup and rehab and turnover, not a year.
Yeah. Well, I think you got a lot of options, man. Like you said, you got that paid off property. I mean, I think you have a lot of ideas, you can think about and what you want to do next. I mean, I think you're in a good position and you just gotta, like you said, you just gotta figure it out and pull the trigger and,
Mm-hmm.
kind of focus maybe. But yeah, you're doing great, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, and yeah, I'd like to, one of these days give you a call, just talk a little bit more business and just
Oh
get
man.
a,
All right.
uh, see, here I am trying to
Anytime, man.
put the
Anytime.
hate aside, trying to put the hate aside. And just
Ah,
keep
like I
coming at
said,
it.
man, you can call me anytime, man. I may not answer, but you can call me anytime.
It's all right. Well, you're a night owl, like you're up all night long doing stuff. So, anytime is
Yeah,
kind of a
no,
hard one with you.
no, seriously, man. You can reach out anytime. I don't know how much help I'll be, but you can reach out anytime and bounce ideas off of. And yeah, man, it was fun. Like I said, it was fun meeting you, and I think a lot of
Yeah,
great connections were made in Vegas, and it was
most
a great
definitely.
time. And yeah, man, I can't wait to do it again. And we'll do another
Oh,
recording when you pull the trigger on something.
it's going to be crazy next year because now we all have an idea, you know, kind of what
Yeah,
we're about, what we're doing,
yeah,
and I think the way that it all worked out, uh, just kind of meeting up at that Denny's that first night,
yeah,
Thursday night kind of thing, that worked out. That was just, I mean, what was there, 20, 25 of us
yeah,
that showed up. That poor waitress, she worked her butt off.
yeah.
And, but
And
that
then
just
and
gave
then
such a,
now, yeah, now I can just tease you from the beginning. Like now I don't have to
see,
like feel things out, right? Now everyone's kind of comfortable with each other and there's just gonna be, shit talking from the beginning.
seriously, seriously.
Oh,
But
but
that's where we hit it off because it was just almost from the beginning we started with each other, and
yeah, and then
people were looking at us just going, "What is wrong with you two?"
and you got me in trouble with Cynthia, man. I don't know. She,
I didn't do anything. You did that all on your own. All you had to do was open your mouth, and the
uh,
trouble came. She ever sees those pictures of you, she's really going to be disappointed.
those are Photoshop, man. Uh,
Uh,
all
so
right,
yeah,
man. Well,
no,
yeah, this
it's
is fun, and we'll do it
it's awesome.
again, and yeah, man. I'm sure we got to connect before Vegas again. But yeah, yeah, like I said, I agree. I think next year's going to be a lot more fun, and the girls are already going to talk about having a girls' night out, and
I've been hearing something about that. That's going to be dangerous.
that's what I
That's
said.
going
I
to be
said someone's going to
dangerous.
get arrested, man, this year or next year.
Well, you know, it, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So,
I'm putting my money on Kim getting arrested, but that's where my money's going.
you
I'm
know,
throwing that out there.
she's pretty stealthy. She's kind of that one. Yeah, you may be onto something. You may be onto something
Yeah, we're
with
gonna
that.
have odds. We're gonna
So
put odds and put members will put money on who's gonna get arrested.
you just started an idea. We'll have a buy-in going on,
Yeah,
what happens on girls' night, and
yeah,
then have another one with who's getting arrested here, and yeah,
yeah,
it's all right, Kim. We got it now.
yeah. All right, man. Yeah, we'll wrap this up. And thanks for doing this. And fine, I know you've been
You
busy,
bet.
and thanks for taking the time out. And yeah, man, reach out anytime, man.
All right, I appreciate it. This has been awesome. Thank you.
All right, man. Yeah, don't go anywhere. We'll end this and we'll chat after.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks, man. Bye.
Yep.